Om Jabakasuma Shankasam Kshapaya Mahadutim Tamorim Sarvapapanganam Pranatusmi Davakaram. Om Jabakasuma Sankasham Kshapaya Mahadutim Tamorim Sarvapapanganam Pranatusmi Davakaram. Om Jabakasuma Sankasam Kshapaya Mahadutim Tamorim Sarvapapanganam Pranatusmi Davakaram. Om Ram Hrim Ram Sahasraya Namaha. 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 Hari Om Om Namah Shivaya. Namaste and welcome everyone to Dr. Dharmesh DM Astrology and Kṣaṇāti Jyotish collaboration on Sun in the 12 houses. How are you doing today, Dr. Dharmesh?
Yeah, I'm fine and very excited for the Sun being a king, and you and me also somewhat a king in our field.
What is the position of your Sun?
Yeah, it is placed very well. That is why I got a name, fame, and recognition.
Yeah. I feel I would have guessed.
See, it's a light. We all know it is a light, and we all know the light and unlight. That's a two different thing about the Sun. It light also and it unlight also. So we need both lighting and enlightening.
Oh, beautiful.
So we can light ourselves and enlighten others by spreading the knowledge of astrology, especially a Sun, who is the father of everything. So that is why it's very important role.
Please tell us more about some general qualities and karmas of the Sun for a little while, of Surya.
Yeah, see, if we go about the astronomical value of a Sun, we know that the Sun is a center, Sun is a main force, life force, from which every planet get the light. It was the Sun only who, in inception, the Sun has only the planet, and thereafter when it gets settled, one after another particles has come out from the Sun, and today's we believe that these all are the galaxy of the Sun. In astronomical, it has a different value. It's a hydrologic properties. But in astrology, we believe as like anything, because we treat the Sun as a center and the rest all the planet as moving around. And that the same thing in the person's chart also it is seen that from where the Sun is placed, his whole life is being started. You see somebody's Sun in the third house, so his life will begin, or if life will start when he start doing daring, he start going outside, he's traveling, then his life will come out. This is a life path. Sun is nothing but the life path. So we are going to discuss all the 12th house. I have also done the Sun video earlier, but that was a house wise, planet wise. Now today we'll do in the some different dimension whereby we'll see my views as well as your views, and we'll see that how the better the person can focus on the Sun. It is the only one planet which one can see by its naked eye. For the moon, we can't see sometime a moon during the no moon day, we can't see. For other day also, it is a rising and waxing moon, so we can't see complete moon. But Sun is the only planet daily we can see entire Sun, and that is a main regularity part of the Sun, that Sun always being regular, and whose Sun is powerful, they are very regular in their life. Leo sign, we know the Sun exalted sign, so that are the part of the prediction. But basically Sun is required to unlight your other planet. I have seen person born during the October 15 to November 14, whereby the Sun is doubleted. Whose Sun is doubleted, they have to always depend on others because their willpower is less, their encouragement is less. They can't see anything by their own self. Apart from the Nietzsche Bhang Raj Yoga, if sun is weak, I have seen there's lack of confidence, no good connection with the father or elderly person, and there is no life path, or soul doesn't have any direction. As our life is always charged by our soul, the sun is a soul and sun is a father, by which I believe sun is a DNA. Our DNA format from the sun, and we all the small particle of the sun only, which ultimately going to dissolve in the sun only. And that is why in our Indian culture or a Hindu culture, we daily give some water and a prayer to the sun, because we believe that one fine day we also have to dissolve in this sun only, or our ancestral, because that also sun, our ancestral also has been dissolved in this sun only. So that is why we pray the sun like anything. So this is some small item of a sun. And sun, in my video, sun video, I said that the sun is very highly inefficient planet. People have taken in the other way that sun doesn't give result. No, I say sun only show the things, it doesn't give. You can only see the planet house result where the sun is placed, sun is aspecting. You can only able to see, but sun never gives anything. It depend on your destiny, depends on your fate, karma, that how much you get. We all know the Saturn is a son of a sun. We say that Surya Putra Shani means Saturn is a child of a sun, because it has first came out from the sun, and sun is a soul, and Saturn is a deeds judgment. Whatever your soul has done, that judgment is on the hand of a Saturn, and that is why people scare with the Saturn, but they don't scare with the sun. You don't have to scare with the sun, but you have to always bring focus. You always bring a light. And I have seen when we see the Sudarshan Chakra, in one of my video already I done with the Sudarshan Chakra, where we see all the planetary position from the ascendant, moon and sun. So whatever your body do, whatever your mind do, and whatever your conscious, your soul do, this all three things combined, mind, body and action, all three combines, and then it becomes a result. So I request our all viewers that to see the sun in something different from the planetary position, something different from its own geographical position, just as an enlightenment, just as a light, just as a feeling that it is giving you some direction, giving you some way out. So if you make if your viewers are making a sun chart simultaneously, they will come to know where the soul path is going, whatever the reason of their life path, and they can enlighten themselves. So this small thing I have to give. Now you may share your views. It's all your views now.
This is no small thing what you give, Dr. Dharmesh. This is a very large, deep, and profound gift what you give us. I just wanted to make sure the sun yantra was able to be seen in my video. But one of the things which I really wanted to, there, because you can see it right there in the corner. One of the things I wanted to remark about is that Surya, I say that it is the Mahagraha. That doesn't mean that it is greater than the other planets, but if you go through every society, over all of the traditions, over all of the cultures, over all of the worlds and everything like that, the ones that worship planets, they primarily will worship the sun. There are also other religions which will worship the moon, but primarily many indigenous cultures are sun worship, and we can think of Egypt as being one of these primary cultures. Now, one of my favorite English descriptions, because I always feel that the English descriptions don't do the Sanskrit descriptions much justice. But one of the things that the sun represents is truth. The sun represents truth. And one of my greatest translations of the sun is the Dispeller of Ignorance. That means and that's the opposite of shadow. So that means any falseness, any illusion, any ignorance, any deception, any maya, that the sun's karma is to bring light to this, is to bring removal of the ignorance, is to bring the removal of all the falseness, of all the maya, of all the illusion. So people with very strong sun position, they are here to remove that which is ignorant from this world. Well, not everyone gets along with the strong sun person because not everyone wants their ignorance to be called out. But especially if the sun is in a communication position, this person will have to call out ignorance when they see it. But this Dispeller of Ignorance, that which eradicates sin, that's another great translation of Surya, the Eradicator of Sin. Sin is kind of a Western concept, but in the Vedic, we call that samskara. So it means that we create some kind of karmic action in one lifetime, and the consequence will carry into the afterlife and may make impression into our soul into our next lifetime. So the sun carries them some scars. These carries this deep soul direction, this deep soul potential, and our soul's lessons, and our soul's future, and our soul's evolution. And those are just a few points that I wanted to make about the sun before we start discussing the sun through all of the 12 houses, is that it is the eradicator of sin. But we're not looking at sin in terms of some religion says that is wrong. We are looking at sin in terms of ignorance, in terms of falseness, in terms of evil, in terms of shadow, in terms of illusion. Because unless the sun is afflicted by another planet, it is the most righteous and most honorable king. So that's what I would like to say about Surya, and I'd love to hear you dive into the first house position of Sun, Dr. Dharmesh.
Yeah. So very well said. Truth. That is something, a new word I have entered today about the sun by your speaking. Truth, right? Because sun removes the darkness. So there is a truth. Very well said. That dimension has been new to the world, that sun gives the truth. Very well said. So now, as we discuss about the house-wise, we should not forget the simultaneously sign also, with sign is placed. But the placement of sun is very important in the house rather than the sign, because sign is a secondary thing. Those who are a scholar, those who have reached their advanced level, they never see in the sign wise. They see in the house wise, because that's a real physical result. Wherever we see as a sun in the sign, it is merely an adjustment of the sun, whereas in the house wise it is perfect. Now considering the first house, sun being in the first house, and first house is the soul, first house is our body, enlightenment, everything is in the first house. And what people born, when they start taking the birth, they need a sunlight. So that is the first house, which is itself as a soul. As per the rule of Parashara, that is a Karako Bhav Nashe, means when the Karak, the significator, it is in the own house, then there will be no result. Sun also, in first house, if the sun is there, there will be so much enlightenment in the body, there is so much energy in the body, and due to that energy, if person can't cope up, sometimes it happens that more of the energy which you can't sustain, you can't control, that also becomes negative. So sun in the first house, very good for the body structure. It gives a very good structure, it gives a perfect shape for the body. But immunity, vitality, this all things belongs to the sun in the first house. The confidence, soul. This all are the inner part of the body which one cannot see, that all ruled by the sun. So they might be tend or bent to the overconfidence. They might be having a more vitality, and due to the more immunity system, they become sick. So those I seen sun in the first house, they are good looking because externally sun is very beautiful. But when you go close to the sun, it's very fiery. It's nothing but the hydrogen. It's a fiery nature. So those who are affected with the sun in the first house, either they have a lack of a confidence, either they have a overconfidence, depending on the sitting of a sign which the sun is there. So that is the view of myself, that sometimes the extremity of the planet or extremity of the power of that planet may itself burn out. See, we all know there is a three planet which is a fiery sign: Sun, Mars, and Jupiter. Being a quality of a fiery sign planet, they all have a tendency to burn. Sun burn within. This is the one planet which burn within, insidely. It burns insidely. See, like envy, people have enmity and envy. Ilsha, we call as a enmity. We can't see good to others. So that is sun, because we have some fiery nature insidely. Mars is only by speaking, by provoking certain things or fighting, you release your energy. And Jupiter also a fiery, because of the knowledge somebody burns out. When you throw some knowledge to others, they burn out. But the sun is the only planet which makes the burnout within. So wherever your sun is placed, you have to see whether it is not been overcharged. Sometimes you might have heard that if your laptop is overcharged, it blasts. So that's the same story here also. If the sun in the first house, they're being overcharged. And due to the overcharge, they sometimes go to a directionless, and they sometimes face a lot of problem in their life because of the ego. That is nothing but the ego, burning sensation within themselves. And that burning sensation doesn't allow them in the eyes, because eyes also first house. Their eyes are just throwing the fire. They can't see the good things of the people. So that I have seen in the sun in the first house. You may have your views now.
Delightful explanation, Dr. Dharmesh, as usual, and everything you say always resonates with me. And in a lot of my explanation, I'll just be saying my own version of something that you said, but I also put some different views. And the thing about the sun in the first house is the sun gives the power of the sun to anyone who has it in the first house. But depending on the sign, the person will either be able to embrace that power, which means digest the power of the sun, or they will get sunburn. And no matter how much sunscreen they put on, they will still get the spiritual sunburn. And it is, because it's a Dharma house and it's a lifelong energy house, it's a lot of responsibility and a lot of power and a lot of burden. One might feel that their life is a burden that they're carrying. As also mentioned, the sun represents the healthy ego. Notice we said the healthy ego. So if the sun is in ascendant in a very good position, the person can have a healthy ego, which means they believe in themselves, but they don't think they are better than others. But also, if sun is in bad position, person has no even if it's in first house, but they're Libra ascendant, they will have no self-confidence. They will have no belief in their self. They will always question and doubt their principles and their values. So it's very important that the sun has strong and good position, especially when it's in this ascendant. But I always say to my clients who have sun in the ascendant, well, this is a blessing and a challenge. The blessing is that the sun is constantly promoting you to your soul's direction. The sun is constantly promoting you to your soul's destiny, you could say. So that is the blessing of having sun in the ascendant. But depending on the position of the sun, sometimes that can be heavy burden, that can cause sunburn, that can cause stress, that can cause pain. Sometimes we don't want to be pushed to our potential. Sometimes we don't want to do the work that we have to do. But if you have sun in the first house, you don't have much of a choice. So, and then also to comment on the Ayurvedic side of the situation is that the sun is a Pitta planet. And so people who have sun in the first house, they have a strong Pitta element of their constitution, which does give them intelligence. So usually people with sun in the first house have very good intelligence, and they have ability to use this intelligence depending on Leo position and other things, sun aspects, where they put their intelligence, also to see how far Mercury is away from the sun. But usually the sun is said to give brilliance. So there's brilliance also given with sun ascendant people, and a lot of destiny and a lot of purpose and a lot of karma to fulfill. And if the sun is in a good position, that will feel comfortable to fulfill that karma. But if the sun is in difficult position, the person can feel like they have all of this to fulfill, but their feet are too small for their shoes, is the description which is said. Their feet is too small for their shoes. So hopefully with the good sun in the ascendant karma, the pair of shoes that you are wearing fits very perfectly. And you can walk to your fullest success. You can walk to your soul's direction in those shoes. But yes, it does promote you to constantly be going to your next level of growth. And sometimes we want to be going to our next level of growth, and depending on other positions in the chart, sometimes we don't. So that is the blessing and the challenge of the sun ascendant. And another thing that's very interesting about the sun ascendant is it makes your Surya Lagna and your ascendant chart the same. So the Surya Lagna and ascendant becomes the same. So you can read chart from both perspectives, from Surya Lagna and Lagna chart. So that is also very fascinating. Shall we discuss the second house, Dr. Dharmesh?
Yeah, please. So after the first house, as we have discussed both very well about the first house, that the sun is not so favorable and not so good about the first house, but definitely it will be good in the sign of a second house. Now, as we have said, that the sun in whichever house is there, it's always like to be unlight, like to be lighted, focus on that house. Now, keeping the sun in the second house, it is indicating that you might have a good family background, because second house belongs to your family, your wealth, your sanskara, your sacraments, your mouth, your tongue, your language, everything comes under the second house. So what happened that whenever the sun in the second house, your family has been famous in some kind of a nature. They will be always known to the public. So you will be easily recognized by the society. Second house is your family. Entire family belongs to the second house. So your family has done something good deeds. Your ancestor might have done some good deeds. And because of that, your family and you yourself are being blessed. It's a very honorable name. And wealth-wise also, there is a very good to show. Good wealth is there, and that prolongs for the lifelong. A good samskara, you can able to see, feel the sanskara of that person, those having a sun in the second house. Because of the family blessing, they are very good in the samskara, and they are going to have a very good generation to generation. They follow the same system, right? So that way, this sun in the second house is a very essential for a person being having a very much blessed in the name, fame, and recognition of a family. Wealth-wise also. And also, as per the samskara, they are very well mannered and very well spoken. Sometime you might have seen their language, their wording are somewhat harsh. Because being sun, burning planets in the second house, they might, as you rightly pointed, truth. So they speak a truth. They open up everything. See, when the sun comes out, everything explore. You able to see everything. So second house, when you able to see his family, you see his wealth, you see his sanskara, you can able to see his language. What the indication he is giving from the language is very important for the person. So they are very good in speaking something, in giving the direction to others, and especially when they are in the consultation, when they are in the consulting, counseling, that related work, if they are very truth. They speak with the heart. So I believe that sun in the second house is a blessing to one person. Those who born in the early morning, 4 to 6, see in the Shastra, it is called as a Brahma Murta. Brahma Murta means it is a time whereby the whole Srishti, whole world is calm. And when whole world is calm, you came out. So this is a time of a night time, 4 to 6. Before 2 hours to the sunrise, when people born, the sun plays in the second house, and that is a blessing for them. Having a good family, it should not be exalted. It should not be debilitated in the second house. Otherwise, some bad deeds will follow you by the family. You'll be cursed by the somebody. It is always being sun being a moderate. It is a good planet. It should have a good company, like sun with the company of Jupiter. Sun is a company with the Mercury. These two company I have seen that sun glow like anything. So when these are this, they are the good person. Their sun is always unlighted. They apply their mind, they apply their knowledge. Then this ego goes out. Ego goes out. And second house, as I said, it's a blessed sun with the all aspect of the family, finance, and everything, and speech wise also. Yeah, people think as a harsh because this is a truth reliving. So this is a aspect of the sun in the second house. So now you may share your views about the second house.
Thank you, Dr. Dharmesh. That was quite illuminating. Sun in the second house, we'll look at the positive side and we'll look at the challenging side of it too, when it's in a good position versus a difficult position. Now, the second house is our Bhava, which means it has to do with prosperity and success and our ability to provide for ourselves. And the second house also has to do with providing for our family. So if we're truly blessed in the Bhava, we can also not only provide for ourselves, but we can also help provide for the other. And people with sun in the second house, they have the potential for this highest expression of Bhava. It is part of their soul's potential. It is part of their soul's direction to not only be successful in their work or career or whatever they do so that they can provide for themselves, but actually so that they can be the provider for the family. And very often people with the sun in the second house are kind of like the leader of the family or of the king of the family. Or if you're like my father, he has 7 planets in the second house. So you know that he has a strong influence on the family. So this is to very much to say that the sun in the second house, it does have a beneficial aspect to it. The challenging aspect of the sun in the second house, when it's in a difficult dignity or it's very weak or it's aspected by Saturn or Rahu or Ketu or some malefic aspect, which we're talking about here, the person can have financial struggles. The person can have financial difficulties. The person can have difficulties with their family and challenges with their family and things like that. If K2 sun, it can show that they might lose certain family members. If it's Mars and sun, that's a very hot position. So maybe they get an argument or fight with some of their family members at certain time. So even though there is this positive side, there's also this challenging side of it too. And the sun in the second house is very good position for the development of one's career or the development of one's work. So the sun is very satisfied in the second house when the person has recognition. It not completely like the 10th house, but a little bit like the 10th house in terms of recognition and reputation. And the second house is the house of the savings account. So when you have the sun in the second house and it's in good position, you are able to save money. When you have sun in difficult position in the second house, it is difficult to save money. And it can show the way that you spend money and what you like to spend money on. Now, also, the sun in the second house, as mentioned by Dr. Dharmesh Ji, has to do with the mouth. It has to do with what we put in our mouth and the way we express the words from our mouth. When it comes to what we put in our mouth, I'm talking about food. And I know when we did moon in the second house, I said that was good for food, for being chef. And I also think sun in the second house is good for being chef. They get much happiness in the cooking. They get much satisfaction in the cooking. They get much joy and much pleasure and much, especially if it's in a good position, much satisfaction in the cooking. So cooking is very good for a sun in the second house. But also, as Dr. Dharmesh mentioned, sometimes people with sun in the second house, they can be a little bit sharp with their words. The second house is what you say, and I always say the third house is how you say it. So what you're saying can be very, very sharp. It can be blunt. It can be to the point. So you have to be careful that even though you might be expressing truth, we talked that Surya, sun is the dispeller of ignorance, that it's not always our responsibility to be the one to call ignorance out when it shows its ugly face. We have to pick our battles. We have to pick them wisely. So this is just some of the discussion I wanted to mention of sun in the second house. I hope that was interesting, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts on the third house, Dr. Dharmesh Ji.
Yeah. Now, after the successful entry of a sun in the second house, we move to the third house. Third house is a house of courage. We all know there's a house of courage. And sun is very well required for the courage. Because if you don't able to see that what to do, then how you can start your courage? So sun is something related to the courage. As we have mentioned in the second house, the third house also sun is very well important. While you need to do something new, because third house is a new beginning, desire, it's a beginning of a desire. So when you have ample of a desire, when you have something to be do, new things, your siblings, your traveling, your short traveling, all are very essential when sun is there. See, one thing we have something mixed about the sun in the second house is that sun when in the second house, it aspect the 8th house. So where it is very important that it is aspecting the 8th house, it is removing the fear. And that is why they are very blunt in the speech, that they don't get fear of anything. Because directly it light your 7th aspect to your 8th house, it will expose your fear. You are aware about your fear, you are aware about the consequences which are going to happen, and then you will be very much alert about your needs. And likewise the third house, when you speak about the third house sun, it is very important for doing new things, new beginning, and sun itself is a new beginning. Those having a sun in the third house, we are very lucky on doing a new things. They are always engaged in some or the other way into the new venture, new work. One thing has not been completed, they directly diverted to the second thing. So that kind of good things you can see about the sun in the third house. And another thing is that the courage, it gives a ample of a courage to the soul, and soul is always been directed to do something new. They don't accept anything which has already been done. I've seen sun in the third house, they start their pathway by themselves. Why? Because sun is aspecting here as a ninth house. So ninth house is your life path. They always unlike their life path as well as others. They start anything. See what happens, sun in the third house, they always seek the support to others and they start new things. Once they started the new thing, immediately they let it to the others and they again start the new beginning. So they are just a researcher, they are such a, like a person who always being starting a new things and giving to the world. And then rest thing will be carried out by the world as well. You see the most of the researcher, those who have invented certain things, search something, they have a sun in the third house because their work is to search something which is not able to see. Some people say third house is a subconscious mind also. So they are enlightened with the subconscious mind also. In the nightmate, when we see the nightmate or dreams in the night, that is also sometimes remembered. Those having a sun in third house, they remember their dreams and they achieve their dreams in the daytime because daytime sun is available. So that kind of a benefit person having. With the brother and sister, siblings, sun in this house is not so good. If this person is an elder son or elder person, then it is good that they dominate the younger one. But if this person is a younger one, those having a son in the third house, then there will be no good relation with the elderly brother because he tried to dominate the others. So that is not possible for the elderly brother to get dominated by the younger person. So that kind of some kind of a conflict of interest also sometimes happens in the sun in the third house. But overall for the new beginning, overall for courage, overall for the short traveling, neighbor wise, this is all a good position of a sun to be seated. And I know that you are going to throw something new light on it. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Dharmesh. Always such a comprehensive analysis. But let me think of something to add to the picture, to add to the delicious pot of food we have created. Now, the third house is Upachaya house. So the sun in its first Upachaya position, and the sun is already pushing you to your soul's potential. The sun is already pushing you to your soul's direction. So this means that people with sun in this house, they generally want to work on themselves. Like they want to become better person. Like, oh, what can I do to become better person? Should I do yoga? Should I do Ayurveda? Should I study astrology? Should I go to the exercise? Should I swim at the pool? Whatever it is, what can I do to better myself? And this is also a house of ambition and motivation. So sun gives a lot of drive and ambition and motivation here. And because this is the house of how people receive your communication, people with very strong suns in this house, their communication is strongly received by others. So having strong positions of sun in the third house gives an ability for your message to be received, for your message to be heard. So hopefully you have a good message to share that is of peace and of kindness. But in history, there have been certain war leaders, certain military leaders with sun in the third house, and they have also gotten their military plans activated through this position. So it is something to consider. The sun in the third house, it allows you to work on yourself on a more spiritual level, constantly improving yourself. But the sun is the karaka for the ego. So if you are on a spiritual path, that means having sun in the third house, you are working on your ego. You are working on being more humble. It doesn't mean that you are not successful. It doesn't mean that you don't believe in yourself, but you are working on being humble, which means you think we are equal with everyone else, that everyone is equal, regardless of race, regardless of class society, regardless of any of these origins. So there is this deeper energy of evolution, I think, of the third house that pushes us towards truth, especially if Sun is in the third house. It pushes the individual towards truth. And they'll want to spread that truth, especially if there's other positions in the third house as well. But a lot of working on yourself. Now, when it comes to siblings, usually Sun in this house shows that you'll have brothers, and it can have some traditional of the relationship with brothers, which are challenging. Like brothers have competition with each other. Brothers have little fight with each other. So that's the challenging side. But it could also show that you have a very deep spiritual relationship with your siblings. You have a very deep and spiritual relationship with your brothers or sisters. And maybe you go to sporting events together. Maybe you eat meals together. Maybe you do other events together. But usually if you do have siblings and you have strong position, Sun in the third house, then it's important for you to have a strong relationship with your siblings. Maybe it's you who needs your siblings, or it's your siblings who need you. But either way, one of you needs each other. That will be based on the Sun's dignity. But this is very important position in the Sun's house, is that it is part of the responsibility of the native to have strong relationship with the sibling when Sun is in the third house. So again, just looking at the third house and the Sun as a whole, it gives a lot of ambition and motivation and expression and an ability for you to fulfill your dreams, as Dr. Dharmesh said. This is a Kama house. So it's the beginning of Kama, which is your intentions. But before Kama can manifest, it is an intention. It's just a desire. So when the desire begins to start, that is how we begin the manifestation process. So Sun here, it pushes this Kama, it pushes this desire, it pushes this manifestation process. So people can be they can have lots of ambition, they can have lots of motivation if Sun is in good position in this third house. But I always just hope that what they are trying to do with the world, or what they are trying to make a difference in this world, is very positive. So those are just some of my thoughts on Sun in the third house. It's a very powerful position. I hope that was interesting, Dr. Dharmesh, and look forward to hearing your insights on the fourth house, Sun.
Yeah. So begin the journey further to the fourth house. Whatever you have said in the third house, it's a very good. It's a Kama. This is a house of Kama, means a Kamana, third house. Now, entering into the first house, those having a Sun in the fourth house, they can change the world. They have power and ability. Their soul is so powerful that they can guide the world. I have seen the person who born in the midnight. Those who born in the midnight have a power to change so many life. And they, like Lord Krishna, we all love Lord Krishna. He born in the midnight, 12 o'clock, and Sun having in the fourth house. So when Sun is in the fourth house, your soul, your heart, because fourth house is your heart is enlightened. You are very much focused about your luxury, pleasure. That's okay. That is also a part of a karma. But you are very well truthful. You are very well loyal to your heart. Your soul will be blessed with the good heart. And you find a person with the good heart people. So you meet a people to whom you have some connection in the past life, because fourth house denotes something related to the natives pleasure of a past life. It is also a last phase of a life when person is in the deathbed or about to leave this earth, this is a fourth house. Ultimately, fourth house is a place of pleasure. So by sun placing here, you able to see the pleasure. You can able to see the pleasure, as well as you can able to feel and enjoy the pleasure. Here, the person have a balance of all kind of a pleasure. He will not incline on anything which is obsessive. Like people have only one kind of a pleasure, collecting of a cars, fourth house. People having a multiple house, Mars. People know the multiple knowledge about the subject, Mercury. But when talk about the sun, they have a balanced things about all the material pleasure or other pleasure. So fourth house is for the heart. Fourth house is for the soul to rest in the heart. So they don't see anything, they really feel everything. And Kal Purusha, it is a Karka Rashi. We all know it's a Kal Purush fourth house. It's a Cancer sign, whereby it's a merely a feelings, and that sun gives the feelings about the pleasure. Not being receiving the pleasure, you are imaging the pleasure. That is the greatest pleasure I seen. That you have already planned to purchase a car, but prior to purchase or prior to deliver your own car, you start feeling about the car and luxury. That is the sun in the fourth house. They don't really possess the thing, but they feel everything by heart. So that feeling, that visualization, that scene, things given by the sun. So they able to see the pleasure. One more thing is that while sitting in the fourth house sun, it is also enlightening your deeds. By aspecting the seventh aspect to the 10th house, it will also make you aware about your deeds. It's not only a pleasure. See, apart from sun, if any planet seated in the fourth house, they only thought about the pleasure side. They never start working of the pleasure. See, working of pleasure and pleasure is both a different thing. Whenever any planet seated, except the Ketu, whenever any planet seated in the fourth house, obviously they will aspect the 10th house. Except the sun, all the planet, moon, Mars, Mercury, all the planets while sitting in the fourth house, they only think about this house. They are selfish. They are thinking about this house pleasure only. They are not seeing their deeds. The sun in the fourth house, they are aware about their pleasure. They know how to enjoy the pleasure. Simultaneously, they know how to work for pleasure. They are enlightened with the work. So that is a great thing about the sun in the fourth house, that they are aware about their own pleasure. They give the pleasure to others. That is why I say that the sun in the fourth house, always they are a spiritual person, or we call as a Mahapurush. Mahapurush means he has something different knowledge and make a changes in so many his life. It will not put a person only into the pleasure, but making him aware about the deeds, what he has to do, then only enjoy. That is the message of a sun in the fourth house. So sun in the fourth house in the all the aspect is just the first entry of a spiritual sign, because the fourth house is a house of spirituality. It's a watery sign where the spirituality really starts. So they are starting their spirituality by enjoying everything, and then giving that kind of enjoyment to the others. So sun in the fourth house, they themselves are only not satisfied with the pleasure. They try to give, they strive to give that same pleasure to the others also. So that is my view all about the fourth house sun. Now you may put your views about the sun.
You said 99% of what there is to say, but there is one thing which I always found interesting, and I always found there is a lot of ancestral karma in the fourth house. And when you look at sun in the fourth house and moon in the fourth house, you're dealing with a lot of ancestral karma, because the sun is the soul's direction and the soul's responsibility. So having the sun in the fourth house gives a lot of responsibility and purpose and direction and the soul is satisfied, the soul is happy through its devotion to the family. So I like the sun in the fourth house as a very good position, as long as the dignity is in a good position and everything. But the moon in the fourth house, we call that the matriarch, which means that's the queen of the family. The sun in the fourth house is the patriarch. That's the king of the family. But you have to think of it from an ancestral perspective. So it's not necessarily that the oldest man in your family is the king of your family. It could be your father's mother, or it could be your father's grandmother, because you're talking about an ancestral lineage. You're talking about an ancestral chain. So it's important for people to know with sun in the fourth house, how important their ancestral karma is. How important it is to have good relationship with family, good relationship with father, good relationship with mother. And sometimes if sun is in very difficult position in the fourth house, you can have difficult relationship with father. You can have difficult relationship with mother. So the certain remedy for the malefic fourth house sun is to try to improve the relationship with the parent. But there is this strong ancestral karma linked with the fourth house, and having the sun in the fourth house can show that you are that eventually you will become the patriarch of the family. That doesn't mean that you can't be a woman either. Sometimes it just means that you are the glue that hold the family together. In my family, this was my grandfather. He passed away, and now I don't know who it is, but it will be passed to another family member. So always, who is this patriarch that is the glue, which is holding the closeness and the love and the goodness of this family together? And that is also the sun in the fourth house. But it is also worth mentioning that the sun has 100% aspect on the 10th house in the fourth house. So that means that people with sun in the fourth house, they have this love of their family, but they also have this love of their career. And it's always a balance. Can I balance my love of family and my duty and dharma and responsibility with my family with all this desire for success in my career? And again, the sun has to be in a good position. But if the sun is aspecting a very comfortable 10th house, the career is going to be very important, just like the family is. So the question is the balance of the career and the family with the sun in the fourth house. How do we truly give everything that we can give to our family and also give everything that we can give to our career? Well, it's not easy, but people with sun in good position in fourth house, maybe they have more grace with this. But those are just some of my remarks on that I hope were interesting on the sun in the fourth house. I hope that was interesting, Dr. Dharmesh Ji, and I would love to hear your insights on the sun signification in the fifth house.
Yeah, very well said about the ancestral things that has been known to the viewers, that this is also one aspect of ancestral blessing or ancestral connection in the fourth house. Very well said. Now, entering in the fifth house, as per the Kal Purusha, it is its own sign. It is a own placement of a sun in the fifth house, and sun is nothing but reflecting your deeds. It is giving you a chance that, see, you have incepted from me only. Whenever sun in the fifth house, that means they are very much alert about their past life. Sometimes you might see that they are know about their past life. They can speak some instant of their past life. When sun is exactly pointed on the center of the fifth house, that is a Bhava Madhya, when it is exactly in the center of the fifth house, I have seen that person are very much aware about their past life. And if not able to speak what they are in the past life, they can able to get a guidance from their soul, from their past life deeds. Is it not something great? So that thing happens when the sun in the fifth house, the person is having the knowledge about their past deeds. Is a house of a balanced karma, pending karmas of ones. And fifth house I call as a house of creation. What you have created is a house of accumulation of things. Fifth house is nothing but the storage. And we all know the warehousing of our home, the storage storeroom in our home, where we all keep all the necessity item which might become to use or utility in some time. So fifth house sun means you have kept so many deeds live, and you are going to pay all these things very soon. So it is not as something great that you are aware what is your past the karma, and you able to pay also, you able to complete your past life deeds. So they are guided by the past life deeds. Sun in the fifth house, as well as this is a house of a child progeny. So that child is also making something great out of their things. So they are this person native having a son in the fifth house. They are always being known or famous once that child appears. When the son comes, when the daughter comes in their life, they all get a name, fame, recognition. Everybody will recognize, oh, you are a father of him. No, you are father of him. So likewise, you got a name, fame, and recognition through your children, and you are very much aware about your deeds. You are guided by your past life deeds, and you know your conscious. Son, I sometimes say is a consciousness. You are aware about the conscious that this is right, this is not right. So whether it is right or wrong, that also gives the sun in the fifth house. About the material thing from the fifth house is that a speculation, and this that I don't believe something good. But yeah, one thing is sure, that if the fifth lord is affected with the sun, or Mars is seated with the sun in the fifth house, they are very much famous as a sportsman, because the fifth house is a house of creation. They are very famous sports personality, and they also pass this to their next generation. They create certain things that will become a landmark or benchmark for the next generation. Because for thinking of a next generation, not only for their own child, but they put some pathway, some guidance to the future generation, that is giving by the sun in the fifth house. So I'm very much satisfied with the sun in the fifth house. Also, it aspect the 11th house by completing your desire. Desire fulfillment is the fifth house, 11th house. So all your desire complete, you gain, you are aware about your deeds. What more you need from the sun in the fifth house? And by its own Kalpurusha, own sign, when sun is there, it is nothing good like anything. So I hope that a viewer might have get the comprehensive knowledge of a sun in the fifth house. Just awareness about the deeds. That is the right word. So definitely now you can share your views.
Dr. Dharmesh, your wisdom is so deep that I just feel honored to be able to share this work with you. When I listen to you share the amount that I learned from you, I'm very grateful for, and I'm happy that we've become friends, and I'm happy that we do this work together. My perception on sun in the fifth house is there's a few houses where sun has signification. One is first house, because sun is exalted in Aries. Sun has signification in fifth house because Leo is ruled by the sun. Also, sun has signification in 10th house, very strong Kendra position for the sun. So you're looking at one of the signification positions for the sun. So you're looking at one of the best positions for the sun overall. Usually from a perspective of being a parent or something like that, it gives a lot of responsibility and fulfillment in being a parent. And the relationship with the children becomes very important. So if the sun is in very good position in the fifth house, you should become parent, and the relationship with your child is very, very important. And when there's heavily afflicted energies in the 5th house, it can make fertility a challenge. When there are other difficult energies in the 5th house, it can mean having children is a challenge. But when the sun is very auspicious in the energy, you can have many, many sons, many, many daughters. So this is a very good position and signification. One of the primary karmas of the 5th house is the offspring. It doesn't mean that if the offspring karma isn't part of your karma in the 5th house, there are other karmas which will be activated. But for many people, having sun in position in 5th house has something to do with being a parent and the relationship with your children. And so if it's in a good position, maybe this is a good relationship, but if it's in a bad position, maybe there are challenges to the relationship. Let's say you have Sun and Mars in the 5th house. Maybe your son has aggressive tendencies. So these are things which must be considered. This is also, as mentioned, a house of past lifetime karma. And this is more of a philosophical discussion, but why is our past lifetime karma so deeply connected with our offspring? And in many of the ancient scriptures, it says that the karma which we create throughout our life is delivered through us, through our children. So whatever kind of karma we create, it's delivered to us through our children. So a lot of times in our dealings with our children, it's a directly dealing with our karma, and which means it's part. If it's in the 5th house, which we're talking about, sun in the 5th house, it's part of your dharma. It's part of what makes you happy. It's part of what gets your soul happy and satisfied. It's your soul's direction. Now, on another completely note, the 5th house is a house of creativity. And people with strong energies of sun in the 5th house in good position are great creative souls. They can be creative musician, they can be creative actor, they can be creative teacher, they can be creative lawyer, they can be creative politician, but they will bring some creative element to this, especially Sun-Venus conjunction in this house. And so there's this element of creativity, which is a deep layer of having the sun in the 5th house, is saying, okay, I have some creative potential that is part of my soul's energy and my dharma to express that. So if you have sun in the 5th house and you don't have any creative outlet, then your sun is going to be blocked. Your sun is going to be weakened. So it's very important to have a good, healthy creative outlet if you have the sun in the 5th house position. The last thing that I wanted to mention is the 5th house is a house of spiritual techniques. And so the sun in a good position, it has a deep knowledge or wisdom of spiritual techniques and a deep desire or curiosity, because this is also a house of education. But it's of a higher education. We're talking spiritual education, college, law, medical, not just elementary school, but the higher forms of education. Education with the guru and post-college and postgraduate education. So these are significant elements of sun in the 5th house as well. And I hope that was an interesting aspect to be shared. It's always a pleasure to do this work with you, Dr. Dharmesh, and I'm so excited to hear your illuminations on Surya in 6th house position. Give me, so excited.
See, what happens that not only you are learning something from me, I also get something new things from this. See, everybody have his own view, and that view has to be when produced in front of the people, that is something good. So I also learned something new dimension about the planetary position, so that I bless also too. Now, as you say, fifth house is whatever you do, your child is going to suffer. That is very well said. Now, entering in the sixth house, sun in the sixth house is the first malefic house where the sun enters. It's not so comfortable house for the sun. As per the Kal Purusha, it is its neutral house. It doesn't allow the sun to give result. It's a for a neutral house for the sun not to give the result. Now here, when something goes to the sixth house, any planet goes to the sixth house, they are challenging. They are putting the challenge. And when sun in the sixth house, that means these are the person who are facing lot of challenges. Sixth house is called as a house of opposition. What opposition you face, what the things are there, but still you are opposing it. Is your enemies, is your debt, it's your disease, it's your servant, everything, litigation. So here, sun being in the sixth house, you are enlightening, you are focusing on your negativity. You are more of focusing about the negativity than what potential you are having. So that discrimination sun is keeping here in the sixth house. So while sun in the sixth house, it means the person are more focused about their enemies. Persons are more focused about their debt. They are more focused about their all kind of bad deeds. So that it is not there. They are half of the energy, or I may consider the entire energy they are using for the uh, defeating the enemies. So this is not something good connection of a sun. So sun whenever is in the sixth house, it is not good for the sun, as it is a karaka of a first house. It is a significator of a first house, and placing six from it. So they themselves are challenging their vitality, immunity. They throw something in their body. They put something in their mouth, which makes them sick. And sun in the sixth house, I've seen that the person are always having a genetical disorder. What your parents is having, that kind of a deficiency you also carry in your body. As I mentioned earlier, that the sun is nothing but the DNA. So that disease has came through DNA in your body by your parents. So this is sun in the sixth house means they are aware that which kind of a disease they are going to face, which kind of enemies they always have, which kind of debt they are going to create in their life. It is good for the job, those who are into the job, secure job, government job, those who are serving the government. Sun in the sixth house is very good, because every now and then you have to face the challenges, every now you have to face the enemies. So this is good for the person working in the army, navy, air force, or government services. They have a sun in sixth house, they will elevate their position one by another by defeating the enemies, because their rank will be lifted when they defeat the soldier, the enemies, and they win the war. So such kind of a sun is very good. But for the egoist person, sun in the sixth house with the own sign, exalted sign, they are the egoist person. And because of the ego, they are creating their enemies, their disease, their burning senses, and they are performing some act, not eating the proper food, or eating which is irrelevant to their body. They are inviting the disease. As mentioned earlier, the sun is nothing but the light focus. So here your life is focusing only on your negativity, only on your deficiency, and you are not progressing in the right direction. Apart from, as I told you, apart from the soldier life, this is very difficult for the person having a sun in the sixth house. Again, sixth house sun is only aspecting the 12th house. That means you are exposing your expenditure, you are exposing your loss by creating enemies, by creating the disease. You are inviting the hospital bed, you are inviting the jail, imprisonment, by creating the litigation. So sun in the sixth house, in my view, only if it is placed with the good planet, it can save you. Otherwise your deeds will not be focused on the side which has to be done, and it will be focused on the side which you should not focus. So this is a, primary result of the sun, as I can see for the chart. Now you have your say about the sun in the sixth house.
As always, so much being said by you, Dr. Dharmesh. I just want to add a few things on to that are interesting to think about and to speculate upon. And the sixth house sun position can be considered difficult. So let's talk about the negative first, and then I'll talk about some of the positive. As mentioned, this is the house of enemies. Now, if you have Bijaprit yoga, like you have sun in the sixth house, but it's also Leo, then you have a special yoga, which gives you conquer enemies. But this is something which is valuable and rare. Not everyone has such a great position. So it means that you are vulnerable to your enemies. And if the sun is in a difficult position in the sixth house, then you are very vulnerable to your enemies. And I don't mean that someone's going to come out there and attack you and hurt you or something like that. It's just someone might try to manipulate you. Someone might try to take advantage of you. Someone might try to use you for something that you don't know that you're being used for. So this is just an example of some of the difficult enemy vibration. But also Vijaprit yoga, high position in here, these people are very conquering of their enemies. So there are both sides of that from that perspective, but that's a difficult karma of the sixth house. And as Dr. Dharmesh mentioned, Dr. Lad used to mention, this is the house of the first three stages of disease. Sanche, Prakop, and Prasara, which means that the Vata Pitta Kapha is very accumulated and it's aggravated, but it has not entered the tissue. It's still aggravating the tissue, but it hasn't completely entered the tissue yet. So it means that the doshas are very high, so the balance of the body is out of balance, but it's not to a point of anything fatal, because that's more with the eighth house. So when we look at the position of sun in the sixth house, it shows like the genetic, as Dr. Dharmesh mentioned, it shows on a genetic level how you go out of balance, which means how you will go out of balance. And the sun is a Pitta planet. So odds are Pitta is an element which you go out of balance with. But there are other signs. If it's in Libra, that's a wind. Then you have Vata. So there are other elements that can be affected for you to go balance with. But people with sun in the sixth house, their health has to be the most important thing to them in their life. They say that health is wealth. And that is what I think is the sixth house. Because the second house, the 10th house, those are also wealth houses, but it's more the material side of wealth. But the sixth house, that's that health is wealth. And if you have your health, then you have everything. Because you have the longevity to fulfill everything. And even in the ancient sutras, it says the purpose of Ayurveda is so you can fulfill Dhammartha Kama Moksha. So the whole point of living a long life is so you can fulfill everything that you need to fulfill in your life. Because if you don't have the longevity, you won't have the time to fulfill it. So sun in sixth house is very powerful position for these people to take care of their health from all different perspectives and to make sure that they maintain balance. Their body goes out of balance easily. But they must develop lots of coping mechanisms, maybe with Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, alternative medicine is how I like to approach it. But if Western medicine is the approach for you, that's acceptable too. But this is also that because this is a house of Vikriti of the disease, it also can be sun in the sixth house can show that you're a healer. But you're the wounded healer, which means you have to go through the wound, heal yourself with doctor or with assistance, and then you can learn to help heal others. So that's all I would like to share on the sixth house. Any concluding remarks on our first half of our presentation, Dr. Dharmesh? It has been such an honor and pleasure to share this time with you.
Thank you.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.